Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know."
Dark Souls, a one-of-a-kind experience, full of mystery, horrors, suspense, and above everything else, fulfillment. Succeeding where we had previously failed, overcoming that challenge, looking at ourselves and asking the question, what could have we have done differently there? When we peel back the layers of Dark Souls, we find that it's not just a simple video game, but it's an experience that'll challenge our very mental fortitude that many games try to do so, but ultimately fail.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess, fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first, but there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now.
Dark Souls teaches you that you will fail, but you're free to try again however many times you want. If you decide to quit, then your fate will be determined for you. Though should you choose to persevere, you're invited to explore a carefully crafted land with unique enemies hiding behind every corner, beautiful architecture that houses menacing bosses, or interesting characters that each have their place in the world and their own story to tell. The world of Dark Souls isn't an inviting place, yet we stumble on through, passing through obstacles and uncovering hidden treasure in a world that's long forgotten. How can this horrible land, full of misery and death, be such a joy to explore?
ダークソウルのディレクターを務めているのは、デモンソウルの、ディレクターでもあった、宮崎さんという方がいらっしゃるんですが、彼はですね、世界観、このダークソウルというゲームの世界観も作られてますし、ディレクションもされてますから、あの人がダークソウルみたいなもんではあるんですけど、それゆえにですね、あの人の作り方でもあるんでしょうけど、非常にこだわりが、強いです。
The perfection emphasized on world building is an element of Dark Souls that makes it stand out from the rest. Each attention to detail helps craft this story right in front of you. The surrounding areas highlight this class of citizen that used to inhabit the area. In turn, that reflects the type of encounters you, the player, will be facing, whether it be battling the Silver Knights around their beautiful Anor Londo, or going head to head with thieves and rabid dogs in the Undead Burg. Each area can reveal information about the world to the player without saying nothing at all. In many games, especially open world ones, one of the beneficial things is making a world that feels somewhat alive and bristling with life. But here, it's the exact opposite. But we do not criticize Dark Souls for having a dead, lifeless world, because that's exactly what is needed to drive the narrative. Lordran, Dranleic and Lothric are all lands that we've stumbled upon past their prime. And I've always said I'd be curious to walk the streets of Lordran when everything was normal, when people walked the streets like it was just an ordinary day. But as interesting as that would be, that's not the world we've become accustomed to, and if anything, it would feel wrong. Isolation is a key component in Dark Souls. The feeling of helplessness, loneliness, and desperation all factor into how we explore these lands. A swift death can strike at any moment, and if that isolation wasn't there, the way we progress through the levels just wouldn't be the same. When we take a step back, we feel alone, surrounded by things that are merely husks of their former self. Those who do retain their humanity are mysterious, and we start to question their true intentions. If we're stranded in the middle of the undead burg, we're alone, pushing through the unknown. If we're in a safe haven, we begin to question, how safe are we? How the land around us resonates with we the player plays a significant role in not only how we traverse through, but how we actually emotionally feel about it. This is where the various cogs of Dark Souls move so well together. If we take each aspect of Dark Souls, for example, the music, the aesthetic, these elements move to create the overall product, and each of these cogs have to have a certain quality to them, which in turn will reflect the overall quality of the experience. The atmosphere, the world building, coupled with the ambient sounds, the music, the feeling of exploration, neither of these let the other one down or hinder each other in any way. The positive aspects of Dark Souls highlight just how careful and meticulous the land of Dark Souls is. The fact we praise it for making us feel alone and distraught. The fact that the story of Souls isn't played out in cutscenes but says to the player, there's an in-depth story here, full of mystery, fantasy, love and hate, but it will only tell you if you actively search for it. But how do you build a legacy? How do you create an experience that's so highly praised? You respect the players. You don't doubt their ability to learn. You don't treat the player as inferior to the creator. There's a level of mutual respect between the players of Dark Souls and its creators. For me personally, Dark Souls taught me that I have that capacity to keep moving on, to keep trying. Where before I would have given up due to the lack of confidence, Dark Souls had taught me a lesson. Despite the odds, despite the grief, you will continue putting one foot in front of the other. You always move forward, because that's what we have been chosen to do. The elements of this franchise all moving together to craft this experience like no other. The player satisfaction after overcoming a challenge. The feeling of awe when we uncover something hidden away from us. No maps telling us where to go, but relying on our own intelligence and knowledge of the land. Giving us multiple ways to deal with situations. Letting the player get lost in this horrible world, but coming out feeling better for it. Feeling accomplished, leaving behind an experience that will truly, truly never be forgotten. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you build a legacy.